some of the most valuable gifts that you can give to those that you love the most will come as a result of your commitment to growth and development throughout your lifetime.
Of captivity, Yah come deliver we come from far,
Shalom, shalom. My name is Moreh Kezqweyah ben Lewi ben Yisrael of the Hebrew family of Ghana, Levitical priesthood. The aim of these dissertations is to cause the true house of Israel, who have been without knowledge of themselves for countless generations, and who are now being awakened by the God of the universe to better serve our Creator, the only Savior. It is our hope that by reacquainting this awakened black nation with their laws and former history, it will hasten our return to our true identity, thereby acknowledging our ancient forefathers. This, in turn, will allow us to know our Father's God and prepare us to stand together to meet the terrible day of the Creator that He is readying for all mankind. May He cause your minds and your hearts to understand. First and foremost, please allow me to give all thanks and praise to the Holy One of Yisrael, the power of our fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for allowing me, Moreh Kezqweyah, to have this blessed opportunity to, at this time, address members of the Hebrew families all across the earth. It's with humility and also my deepest thanks that I'm here before you. And I must mention in humility that I'm a humble servant of the Creator and Maker of heaven and earth, whose name is Yehovah Eloheinu. As I begin, I want you to think about the following words, because it's very important that you understand the importance that rests upon us, you individually, today, to be committed to growing. Without continuous personal growth, you are now all you will ever be. I've been a student under Cohen Michael ben Lewi ben Yisrael in the Hebrew family of Ghana, in Guyana, South America, for the last 20 odd years. And I've begun to, I started out as a 7-year-old, rather, under the guidance of my first spiritual teacher, who was my father. During those very early years, our exposure to the Hebrew culture somewhat was mixed with the teachings of Jesus Christ. And while we were attending church, because that's where we started, we were told that the people of African descent or ancestry, we were the descendants of Canaan, who was the grandson of Noah, and that we were a cursed people. So while growing up and studying under the guidance of my father, we were told that we were the spiritual Israelites, and that the European nations like Britain and America and France, Denmark and Germany and all the other European nations, we were taught that they were the lost tribes of the house of Israel. During those years, as I mentioned, from the age of 7, my father guided us in a way where we were not allowed to celebrate the holidays that we have come to call them now in our new understanding, like Christmas, Easter, Halloween, which has now lately come to Ghana as a holiday. And we were taught to keep the holy days found in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. So for many years, from that age until about the age of 16 or around 17 years of age, we kept the holy Sabbath day, which is now our understanding from the Hebrew thought is the Shabbat day. And I was always the one that my father had as his reader. So during those years, I had to be an intense researcher and someone that studied with him, and that afforded me a chance to learn at a pace that was beyond the peers that I had while I was growing up in the mining town of Linden here in South America, Guyana. During those years, it did not sit well with me every time I looked in the Holy Scriptures and I saw the personages or men like David and Moses not looking like me. And I had a rebellious attitude to some degree. But years later, my first encounter that shifted me mentally was when Louis Farrakhan came to Guyana while I was attending the Mackenzie High School in the region that I lived in. And he said that the people of African descent were the people of God. And I went home. I went home that afternoon and I spoke to my father. And my father said, Louis Farrakhan is out of his mind. But that resonated with me in such a way where I began to question the very teachings that I grew up on. And during my search, later on, a few years later, after finishing high school, I stumbled upon persons in my peer group that are now like brothers and sisters to me who had a higher knowledge and understanding of the Holy Scriptures. So I began to attend the Hebrew Culture Center around 1998, and I could remember the exact date. It was July the 7th, 1998. July the 7th, 1998. And the very first day that I walked into the Hebrew Culture Center, the teacher that was teaching was Cohen Michael, who has now become my spiritual mentor, teacher, and guide, and who I've sat under as a teaching priest for several years. And the way he spoke on that day, it touched me in such a way that immediately I began to make a mental and a spiritual shift to the understanding that I am a descendant of the biblical Israelites as someone of African heritage. That totally sit well with me because it felt as though it was just right. Later on, I began to study under him as a student, and I was given the title as a misharate, which means someone that was a minister to the priest. And all those years I studied. I spent time in the Hebrew Culture Center, and I sat down and listened. And when I was told to read books, I didn't just take it on the surface level. I went and I bought the books and I read it. I read Israelites and Jews, the significant difference, which made a significant difference in my mind. It gave me the understanding of who the children of Israel are in the true sense of it. And it also filled in the gap that was bothering me to some degree of why do the people of African ancestry seem to be at the bottom of the social ladder everywhere. That book opened my eyes to the understanding that we were the people that did not obey the instructions of the maker of heaven and earth. And it is our duty now to return to the very laws that we turn our backs on so that we could have favor with the Creator. I read Hebrewisms of West Africa. I also read the book God, the Black Man, and the Truth by Ben-Ami, Ben Yisrael. And I learned about books like by Jeremiah Camera. He wrote Holy Lockdown, and that book was profound as well because the way he articulated his message in that book, he was making a point that our people, the people of African ancestry, the African Hebrew Israelites that are scattered in Americas, in the Americas, North and South America, in Latin America, in Barbados, in Trinidad, in Northeast Africa, who actually, the people of Northeast Africa rather, who moved to West Africa, who populate Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda in East Africa, Kenya in East Africa, and all those countries on the southern side of Africa, Zimbabwe, which was Rhodesia and South Africa, and those countries, they are the people of Israel. And I came upon knowledge of this in terms of, in my own research, rather, as I was saying, in encyclopedias. It led me to begin to study the Holy Scriptures in the original language, the Hebrew language. And while I was doing that, and I'm still a student of the Hebrew language, I learned that the Holy Scriptures, when it was translated in the English language, it did not at all times give justice to the true meaning and intent of the writers of the Holy Bible as we have come to know. That opened my eyes much more to where now that knowledge of self was empowering. It was uplifting. The eye-opening that took place during that time and that season has led me to commit myself to being not just someone that learned about his own history, but I decided in humility that the way that I was brought up and guided first by my father and then under the teachings of Kohen Mikael with peers like Moreh Kezqweyah and now Kohen Hodiah and Kohen Heliel, who are brothers that I've been growing up with for many, many years, it has led me to emulate those persons that are now committed to serving the people of Israel and also to serving all humanity by being teachers of the principles of righteousness that the Creator Maker of heaven and earth left on record for us to model ourselves after and also to teach. Now, as the years went by, when I became empowered in self-knowledge, it clarified for me what career path I should choose. And that led me into the preventative health industry. Now, I'm a physical trainer. I prefer to call myself a performance enhancement specialist because I've been able to work with the best athletes across Guyana and the Caribbean in the cricket industry, in squash, and in sports that our preeminent athletes have been able to make a name for themselves in the world, right here from Guyana, South America. And during this period of the last 10 years, I've been able to build a small team of trainers that include physiotherapists, corrective exercise specialists, and we have been serving not only an Israelite community, but we have been able to be of service to all the ethnic groups in the 6 ethnic groups or races in our country here in Guyana. And that serves me, that has been able to allow me to serve based on what the book of Leviticus said, where the stranger must be treated like the homeborn. So in giving service to other ethnic groups, it opened up doors to where I got access to mentors that give me insight into building wealth. And one of those mentors that touched me to some degree, like my uncle, as I will mention later on, and like I mentioned, as Kohen Mikael, the teaching priest that I sit under, he touched me for 2.5 years approximately as a wealth mentor, as a life mentor. And he taught me to expand my vision in business and has been able to help me to look at the area of personal growth and development, which is something that is a broad field or broad area, but now I've been able to channel my taught energies to being a teacher that incorporates that needed area for the Israelite community and for the world at large. Because it must be, if you're going to grow and develop, it must be rooted in the principles of righteousness that are in the writings of the Holy Scriptures called the Bible. So, my topic today will be, and it's called Growth and Development, the Hebrew Taught. And I want us to start out, firstly, grounding these thoughts from the foundation of knowledge that we use, which is the Holy Scriptures. If you will, turn to Joshua, the 1st chapter, and the 7th and 8th verse. And you can follow along. You can also, as you listen, I encourage you to make note and verify for yourself whether or not the things that are being said are truthful and if it makes sense as you follow along as we go. Joshua, the 1st chapter, the 7th and 8th verse. And this was a time when the new leader of Israel came to the fore, because Moses, who was the appointed leader by the Creator, who led the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt through the wilderness to the borders of the land of Canaan or Palestine as we know it today, he died, and Joshua became the next leader. And as he took the helm of leadership, the Creator spoke these words to him. And these words are relevant to us today. And I call it the success formula. It reads in this wise: only be you strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the law which Moses, my servant, commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand, nor to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. This book of the law, talking about the Bible, shall not depart out of thy mouth. It means that you will not stop speaking these words, because you will always be thinking on it. And listen to the next part of the verse. But you shall meditate therein day and night, and you may observe to do according to all that is written therein. Now, why did God, the creator of the universe, who we have come to know as Jehovah, and that name Jehovah speaks of the Creator being the only being that exists in the past, the present, and the future, or at the same time. And it's only one spiritual force that can, those characteristics or attributes can be given to, and that's the Creator of all things. He told Joshua, he said, listen, as you lead, be strong, be courageous, don't be afraid. Do the laws. What laws? These laws that tell us, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder, do not commit adultery, do not covet what is not yours, do not covet what is your neighbor's, don't long for things that are not yours, and move from your hankering for it or your desire to where you're going to do evil to get it. So these laws, these principles that the Creator told Moses to teach the children of Israel, he was reinforcing it in the heart or in the mind of Joshua, that he would be someone that would adhere to those principles. And he ended that particular verse by saying, if you do not turn to the right, which is right, and to the left, if you stay on the path, stay focused, stay doing what is right, you will prosper. And this does not go for a particular race. Anyone, you could have any color, skin color. If you choose to do that which is right, you will get your just due, the just rewards, blessings, prosperity in your life. And these are the things, the founding principles that we all as a human family are to adhere to for our own good. Then he said, do not make the words of these laws depart from your mouth. You have to speak good thoughts and bring those good thoughts. Let it bring good results in your life, and you're to think on it every day. Meditate. What does it mean to meditate? It means that you're to study. How many books have you read in the last 7 months? How many seminars have you attended? Do you have a mentor? Are you a committed student? A lifelong student? If you put it into thought, just think on it for a moment. Why is it essential as a human being upon the face of the earth that you study? Why is it important that you are a lifelong student? Do you understand and know that every day of your life, excuse me, please, every day that you walk upon the face of the earth, it's as though you're in school? You and I as human beings, we are being given lessons in relationships with people, in relationships with your spouse, as a husband, as a wife. If you're a son, if you're a daughter, you have siblings, and you're tried and tested every day of your life so that you can have an opportunity to grow as a human being. And in your growth, you're growing upward. And we as Hebrew Israelites say we are growing closer to the Creator when we apply His principles. If you consider for a moment, have you been a better listener than someone that speaks? For you to grow, this is something that we have come to know. Our parents, many of you listening at this time, you may agree with this and you may have heard this. The Creator has given us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Why? Because we are to listen more than we are to speak. And in listening, there is greater learning. Not just hearing, but with listening, there is greater learning. How do you know someone has listened to what you said, to instructions given? They act in accordance to the instructions given. If you give your son an instruction, or a daughter the instruction as a man, as a woman, to bring a glass of water, and they continue, they're sitting in front of the television, or today our young people sit with smartphones, and they continue just scrolling social media and not giving you any indication that they've heard and understood what you said. You're able to see one son who has heard by him putting his smartphone away and going to the kitchen and bring a glass of water for you. The actions show you that someone is listening. Every day, we as human beings, we are showing whether or not we are listening, or we have listened to the instructions given by parents, by guardians, or more importantly, by the Creator. So, putting it into context as we move from here, it is important that you have that mindset of a student, a lifelong student. In some circles in the East, they would say it's discipleship, meaning that you're to be a disciplined person. If you're not disciplined, then it means that you're the opposite. You're indisciplined. And there are consequences, or there are results that go with one or the other. And it's your decision. You have to decide your path and the results that you are looking for. So, my second thought or scriptural reference is one that will be taken from the book of Proverbs. The Proverbs of Solomon. King Solomon was known as the wisest man that ever lived. And he wrote the Songs of Solomon. He wrote the book in the Bible called Ecclesiastes. He also wrote the book of Proverbs. And in the Proverbs, he was guided by the Creator and Maker of heaven and earth to study things. He had a lot of time on his hands because his father, King David, was the warrior king that delivered Israel time and again and subdued all the nations that were on the borders of Israel. Moab, if you know biblical history, Edom, Ammon, or the Ammonites. Those nations were in subjugation. So during the reign of Solomon, he was not fighting many wars, and he had a lot of time on his hands, and he studied. He looked at the ants. He drank wine and got drunk. He even went so far as to marry 700 wives, and he had 300 concubines, and he learned many things from it, and he wrote, so that you and I today, who are students, can look between those lines and extract wisdom so that we can make good decisions. Now, he said in the book of Proverbs, the 4th chapter, in the 5th and to the 7th verse, he told us that it's very important for us to start our development along these lines. Proverbs, the 4th chapter, the 5th to 7th verse. Why is growth and development crucial for you as an Israelite, if you are an Israelite? If you remain the same way all the time, just think of a baby. A baby that goes around on the knees. If that baby did not see an older person walk, there'll be no aspirations to stand upright, to grow taller, to do more. And it was not meant for us to remain the same all the time. By nature, as long as you're alive, you should be growing. And not only physically, you should be growing spiritually and mentally. And Solomon encouraged us to grow in this manner. Proverbs, the 4th chapter, the 5th to the 7th verse. And it says, get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth, from the words of the mouth of his instructor. Don't turn aside from it. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Do not forsake wisdom. Love her, and she shall keep thee. You know, when you love something, as a man, when you love a woman, you're loyal to that person. If a woman, you love a man, you're loyal, you're kind, considerate of the needs of that person. Now, if you love wisdom, you will search wisdom out. And this will help you to grow. You will study. You will go into the books. You will also seek counsel and guidance. And you will be someone that is committed to it all your days. It says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Does this make sense? If you're a young man, if you're a young son, daughter, is it important that you get wisdom and get understanding? Wisdom is a defense. Knowledge is a defense. Again, if you do not know that if you stick your finger in an electric point, that you will be receiving some volts of current, and it will burn you and shock you, and you don't know, as a child, you might stick your finger in a plug. Or another example, if a stove is lit, the fire is on, and you're a child, you're unaware, you have no knowledge that putting your hand on that stove, you will be hurt, significantly hurt. You don't know. So as a child, you touch. But when you come to know, you may never touch that stove again because of that knowledge. Your knowledge, the wisdom that you receive, will be a protection for you. And it would allow you to make good, sound decisions if you're committed to it. If you're committed to learning, even from errors, even from mistakes. You have to be able to put it into perspective, analyze it, continuously reflect, use reflection, and you'll be able to use these experiences in your life to your benefit. Solomon was a man, king, that in the first portion or parts of his reign, he did all manner of experiments. Also, he built a lot of, he built up the infrastructure of the land of Israel. And during that time, he came to understand something. Let us turn to Proverbs, the 29th chapter and the 18th verse. Think for a moment about the word vision. If you're going to grow and go somewhere, you have to have vision. The context in which the writer, the philosopher Solomon, writes at this time is one for a leader. But I want us today to personalize his words so that it can hit home immediately. Proverbs, the 29th chapter and the 18th verse, and it reads on this wise: where there's no vision, the people perish. Where there's no vision, the people perish. In the context, Shlomo or Solomon was saying, where a leader has no vision for his people, the people will die. The people will suffer. But put it into your own life. If you have no vision, no direction, no destination, imagine you leaving home one day and you don't know where you're going. You step out of your house, you look up the street left and right, and someone shouts at you, "Hello, you, come here. Let us go." And they tell you their destination. And along that path, you get into trouble. Why was it so easy for you to get in trouble? It was because you did not have your own vision, your direction, clarity on your destination. Also, do you know that when you're clear on what you want, by when you want it, where you're going, it makes it easier for you to say no to the things that would distract you? If you are clear on the career choice that you want to be a medical doctor, or you want to be an entrepreneur in the area of fitness and nutrition, your actions will be guided by your destination. But without a clear destination, without a clear vision for yourself, your actions will be misguided and you will go astray. Having a vision, having clarity in your direction allows you to be a disciplined person. It allows you to develop character. Because when you are able to choose, first of all, especially you young sons and daughters out there, you're in your adolescent age or stage, and if you have clarity, your peers don't know what they want, they would not be able to tell you, "Let us go and make trouble." You know they say, an idle mind, and you might be finishing it as I'm saying these words right now, becomes the devil's workshop. But when your mind is not idle and you're focused, then you're able to stay aligned with your purpose. Which simply is saying too, it goes back to your foundation. Staying aligned with your purpose means you stay on the path representing the creator maker of heaven and earth by living according to his principles. Being honest, being disciplined, having integrity, and having humility. Being a peaceful and upright person. Being someone that is considerate. Because again, if you have no clue on where you're going, by when you want to get to your destination, someone can rattle you off. You know, In Guyana, South America, we call this that I'm about to say, we call it tantalize. In some countries, it might be you make fun of someone and you highlight their mistakes or their missteps and you make fun of them. And in some cases, this leads to violence and bad or incorrect behavior. But if you're clear on your goals, it's harder for someone to throw you off your path. It's actually a protection. So you have to be very clear. You have to, first of all, be knowledgeable of what you want. Commit totally to doing whatever it takes to get to your goals, to your destination, to fulfilling your vision. And along that path, there's some critical things that you will need. You will need to be guided by a counselor or counselors. How many of you have mentors? I mentioned earlier that my first teacher was my father. But then my next teacher and mentor, because I like the term mentor, because a mentor is not like just a coach. Many times coaches, they're unable to do what they're telling their players to do. But a mentor models the behavior and then they teach you. So that's why I said my spiritual guide and mentor, Mikael. This is someone that has been an example. And I've looked, and I know that many times persons in this capacity, they are not comfortable when they're spoken of in this light. But I believe in giving the just due to persons that deserve it and doing it in their lifetime too. So he's been able to deliberately guide and mentor me, myself as a young man, and also the peers that I have, and sitting every week in a disciplined fashion. The fifth day of the week, every Thursday almost, we sit as students and we are in classes. We are listening, we are researching, and we are being guided so that we can navigate this path as being servants of the Creator, servants of our people and all humanity, in a way whereby we will not stumble and fall. Because when you have someone that models the things that they're teaching, it becomes easier for you to emulate them. So in your journey, and I'm saying this too, it's not only one mentor you will have to have. Indi Bihari, an Indian man, died. My mentor that died about a year and a half ago. He was able to guide me. He was my oldest mentor, then Kwame Mikael, and also someone that has made significant contributions as well to my life. My uncle, who happens to be one of my father's younger brothers. But when I left high school, I went to work in a company where he was the one that guided me along. He gave me books to read, and he would give me time frames to read it. And then he would come and question me. There were days where, even along the lines of my heritage, we would sit all day, and he'd question me, ask me about whether or not I know for sure that the people of the book are people of African descent, whether Jesus has a place or not. And those moments helped me to grow. And if there were no persons that are guides and counselors, I would not be the person that I am right now, being a teacher, being someone now that is a mentor to young men and young women, and to my own children as well, because I'm also a father. And I'm grateful that the Creator has blessed me to grow to this stage of life. And now I'm imploring you to take on some of these things. And if you're already doing so, do so in a way that represents the God and Creator of the universe, the maker of heaven and earth, that gives Him glory. Be a person that's generous, kind, and committed as you grow to helping others grow. So I want us to ground the idea of the need for persons that will help you in your growth and development. And this must be intentional, because none of us can learn on our own. If you think that you will learn everything you need to learn and get to your destination without any hiccups on your own, that's a degree of arrogance. But if you're humble and you're intelligent, you will seek counsel. Let us go to Proverbs, the 13th chapter and the 20th verse. Proverbs, the 13th chapter and the 10th verse. And the 20th verse. Please forgive me for that mistake. Proverbs, the 13th chapter and the 20th verse. And it reads on this wise: He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. If you walk with persons, you spend time with persons that are ahead of you, they're able to help you in your growth and your development. They're able to tell you that if you turn left, you may lose an arm. They might be able to tell you as a young woman and you're looking for a mate, naturally looking for the opposite sex, you would be able to choose someone as a life partner that is a gift to you and you're a gift to them. Not someone that becomes a thorn in your side, that torments you and tears your life apart. And as younger people, it's wise in a world today where relationships between men and women are at an all-time low. Relationships with men and men, nations as well, they're at a time now where it's unbelievable how we're so tense. But getting back to the point, you'll be able to make better decisions if you listen to wise counsel. As you grow and develop, persons that already are higher than you or ahead of you, they'll guide you, teach you, and give you the tools. They will tell you, study this first. They will be able to say to you, these are the core principles that you need to be grounded in first. And when you're able to do that, you'll be able to make progress much faster than if you rely on your own understanding. Let us think about persistence. Do you think that you can continually grow and don't have obstacles in your way? No. Many of us today in our youth think that life should be smooth all the time. Everything should be in your favor. No, it wouldn't be. It would not be that way. If it's that way, then you will miss the opportunities to learn. So, let us look at Proverbs, the 24th chapter and the 16th verse. And it will ground and make clear for you the importance of staying the course, even though you will have difficulties. Proverbs, the 24th chapter and the 16th verse. And it reads, For a just man falleth 7 times and riseth up again, but the wicked shall fall into mischief. Now, if you are doing things that are right, it doesn't guarantee that everything will be smooth sailing. No. You will fall. You will stumble. You will get bruised knees. You might hurt a limb along the path. But if you're committed to doing the things that are right and you persist, you will rise up and ultimately you will achieve. You will get to your destination. You will fulfill what many today call your dreams. So, think on that. Should you expect nothing to go wrong? No. You have to expect the unexpected and adapt. Even in these situations that we are in currently with the current pandemic, if you're adaptable, you will be able to survive and thrive. But if you are complaining and you're just wishing that everything remains the same and there's no change, you might perish. So it's all in how you think. It starts in how you think. But you have to be able to be persistent and stay the course so that you can be a high achiever, so that you can be someone that continually grows and develops. As we come to the close, I want you to focus on these final thoughts. If you continually grow and get knowledge, why did Solomon say get knowledge, get wisdom, but above all get understanding? Because with knowledge and even wisdom, you can become carried away. You may look around and see that you have friends and family that are not learning at the pace that you're learning. And you might become arrogant. But it's intelligent that as you grow, as you develop, that you maintain humility, that you stay on the path of being an upright person, that you, even though you begin to prosper and things go well for you, you don't lose your integrity. Many persons today, they lose direction when they begin to prosper. But Solomon reminded us in the 10th chapter and the 9th verse that we are to stay upright. Proverbs, the 10th chapter and the 9th verse says these words. Proverbs, the 10th chapter and the 9th verse. He that walketh uprightly walketh surely, but he that perverteth his ways shall be known. Think on those words. Meditate on them. Make a note so that you can go back and read it. Not for anyone else, because many a times when we're being taught, we see someone else, the message for another person. This one is personal. This is for you. If you walk on the path and you are upright and you're doing good and you're a person of integrity, things will turn out well for you. But if you change your course and decide now that you're going to cheat, lie, steal, have unjust weights, be someone that is not equitable, then what you sow, you will reap. You will be rewarded based on the seeds that you plant. Finally, it's wise that you fear the Creator. And when I say fear the Creator, all the days of your life, it simply means that you're to respect the Creator, the God of the universe. When He made the heavens and the earth, human beings, we were not here. Excuse me, please. And He made the heavens and the earth with laws that govern them. The sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. Rain falls when clouds come together. The tide rises and the tide falls. And these laws are laws and principles that will continue to exist. When a human being, a man or a woman, fears the Creator, honors Him, you stay within the confines of His instructions, of His principles, His laws. Fear Him. Don't lose sight of it. And these are not my words. These were the words written and left in the Holy Scriptures for us to verify, because when we listen to it, when we read it rather, and we listen to it, you'll be able to test it. Because some of us, we are like that. We will go and test the words, and then when we get our burnings or pain, then we realize, you know what? This makes sense. I shouldn't do this anymore. And sometimes that's how you get your lesson, by your own experiences. But the wise person, you learn from the experiences and the mistakes and missteps that you see others make. So let us conclude Proverbs, the 9th chapter, the 9th and 10th verse. Solomon said these words for us to understand. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will yet be wiser. And this does not mean men only. This speaks about women too. This speaks about sons and daughters. This speaks to everyone upon the face of the earth. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. If you're just and upright, and you're eager to learn, you will increase in your learning. You will continue to grow and spiral upwards. The fear of the Lord, Jehovah is his name, the fear of the Creator is the beginning of wisdom. That's your foundation. And the knowledge of the Holy is understanding. The knowledge of the Holy King of the universe. When you have that knowledge and you're grounded in it, and you understand that he's sacred and he's to be respected, and you demonstrate it by obeying or through obedience, that will show that you're a person of understanding. So as you continue upon the path as a person that would make the best contributions to the entire planet, if you're committed to being a person that fulfills your potential, you have to be someone that is committed to constantly growing and developing. If you are one of those, this is what has been said, usually college grads, after finishing their first degree, in the United States, they have said these are the things that happen. I don't know of the stats in Ghana. We're not a country that measure everything in such a detailed way, but it's to think about. Most college graduates don't ever read an entire book, not even one per year, after they finish their first degree course. If you're a person like that, you will not fulfill your potential, and you will not be able to give the best that you can to the people that you love. It is rooted in learning. Your contributions, you're able to make greater contribution if you're increasing your knowledge, your wisdom, and in your understanding. And I want you to take these words away. A quote. You can share it with a friend. You can share it with your family. You can share it with persons that you care about. Some of the most valuable gifts you can give to those you love the most will come as a result of your growth and development. I'm going to say that again. Some of the most valuable gifts that you can give to those that you love the most will come as a result of your commitment to growth and development throughout your lifetime. You'll be able to give them, if you're a father, the nuggets of wisdom to your sons and your daughters to guide them on the right path. If you're a mother, you'll be able to make a very strong point to your daughter and your sons, even to your husband, in these natural relationships. Maybe even with just one sentence, because you're grounded in being a lifelong committed student. And as a Hebrew Israelite, it's wise and intelligent that you have a life where you're totally committed to growing and developing, and thereafter you make your highest contribution in service to all humanity in a way that's pleasing to the Creator and Maker of heaven and earth. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, and I want to mention also on my journey thus far, I've been able to emulate persons that have set the pace. Some have said that in this generation we're standing on the shoulders of giants. And I view some of my mentors, particularly not some, all of them, They're giants in their own right. And I was inspired to write my first book. And I'm humbled to even mention, but also I want to inspire you young people out there as well. And if you're an older person, even if you're older than I am, you can take the challenge on and write your first book. So now I'm a best-selling author. I've been able to write a book, Go for Glory, which you will see, and you can access it as well in due season. Online. It's currently available on Amazon, the Kindle version, and also can make available to you physical copies, because this is also part of my growth and development. What will you do? I'm looking forward to hearing and seeing what many of you listeners out there across the planet. You might be in Africa right now listening. You might be in North America, Barbados, Trinidad, wherever you're paying attention right now. It's important that you make your contribution. I'm looking forward to hearing and seeing many of you as I make my humble contribution to your life in the ways that the Creator Maker of heaven and earth has blessed me and is blessing me to make these contributions. I'd like to thank my spiritual leader and guide, Michael, for guiding and teaching me these principles and giving me the opportunity to be a servant like he has been and still is, a servant to all humanity. All praises, all honor, and glory to the great Creator and Maker of heaven and earth, now and forevermore. Hallelujah. Shalom, shalom.